The great secret of unshakable stillness is this: you are not your emotions. You are the space they pass through. Most people believe that the goal in conflict is to dominate or win the argument. Yet the wisest among us knew that the truest victory is won before a single word is spoken. It is the victory over your own internal turmoil. Today, we're not just going to talk about staying calm. We're going to build an inner fortress house capable of withstanding any pressure, whether it comes from a hostile person, a sudden crisis, or the relentless anxiety of modern life. By the end of this journey, you will possess a framework for confronting any person or problem with a disciplined serenity that few can ever hope to match. But first, let's confront a profound paradox. Why do we spend so much time preparing for external emergencies, yet so little time fortifying the mind that must actually face them? That is the open question we must answer together. The ancient Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, were not gentle philosophers of soft platitudes. They were architects of resilience who understood the ruthless dynamics of the world. They knew that when you face an aggressive opponent, a cruel market, or a personal betrayal, you must first master the self. Their core insight, the foundation upon which all calm is built, is the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us and most things are not. Your adversary's insult, their strategy, their anger, these are not yours to control. Your reaction, your judgment, your character in the face of their malice, these are entirely and absolutely yours. When you internalize this, the emotional gravity of their actions ceases to hold you. Their rage can no more shake your core than a strong wind can shake a mountain. This is an educational and philosophical endeavor, a kind of mental architecture. It's not medical, legal, or individualized life advice. As you reflect on these tools for inner governance, please consult qualified professional sources for any personal decisions that carry significant consequences. The common mistake is to confuse an external resent with an internal judgment. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The event is a vehicle changing lanes poorly. The judgment is, that person is a disrespectful idiot who deserves my immediate fury. The Stoics teach that the turmoil is not in the event. It is in the judgment you append to it. The moment you strip away the narrative, the story you tell yourself about what the event means about you or the world, the situation snaps into clarity. Without that story, there is no emotional friction, only information. This person is attempting to apply pressure to provoke a response. This negotiation tactic is designed to trigger my insecurity. Detachment is not apathy. It is merely refusing to supply the fuel for someone else's fire. This is the principle of thinking lightly of yourself, but deeply of the world. The moment a confrontation becomes about your ego, about proving you're right, about defending your honor, about not looking weak, you have already lost. You've ceded control of your inner state to an external actor. Musashi, the swordsman, echoed this ancient wisdom perfectly. When you fight with ego, you become emotionally invested, predictable, and easy to manipulate. The Stoic, like the master strategist, must step back and view the situation not as a personal assault, but as a complex, impersonal machine. When you can analyze the situation as an observer watching two other people, your internal temperature drops instantly. You see the pattern of the attack, the vulnerability of the attacker, and the logical route to resolution, which is almost never to engage the conflict on their terms. I once knew a man named Victor, a mid-level manager whose downfall was so common it could be a textbook case. Victor was competent, but deeply insecure. He defined himself by his success and his perceived respect from others. He made the mistake of fixating on only one way to win: dominate. When a new, more political colleague began quietly undermining him in meetings, not with direct challenges, but with subtle omissions, gentle corrections, and soft power plays, Victor froze. His only strategy was to overpower, but the rules of engagement had changed. He fixated on proving his original point was right, which only made him look petty and defensive. He couldn't pivot. He couldn't adapt. His emotional investment became a visible, exploitable weakness. The colleagues saw the rigidity, pressed the predictable buttons, and Victor, consumed by the need to be right, eventually self-destructed with an angry outburst that cost him his project, his reputation, and nearly his job. Victor's era was a classic failure of fluidity. He was destroyed by his fixation. The wise person understands that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain. If one door is blocked, you don't ram it. You look for a window, a hidden passage, or simply wait for the gatekeeper to leave. In life, this means refusing to lock yourself into a single, predictable response. If your opponent expects anger, give them silence. If they crave a loud, messy argument, give them quiet, composed agreement that throws their energy off balance. They are playing by a simple script. You must tear up that script and become formless. This concept of formlessness is critical. It is the ability to shift your psychological position like water. Musashi's strategy of sometimes arriving late, sometimes using a different weapon. These were tactics to prevent his opponent from settling into a known pattern. In modern practice, this means sometimes the most powerful move is simply to walk away. An insecure person applies pressure to elicit a reaction. They thrive on the energy of your frustration. If you deny them that energy, if you starve their power source, you control the entire interaction without saying a word. This isn't cowardice. It is a higher order strategy, a refusal to play by their limiting rules. The victory is achieved when your opponent exhausts themselves against the stillness of your will. This lesson was hard-earned by my friend Sarah. Her delayed awakening came after years in a toxic partnership. She had been conditioned to react immediately to every slight, every outburst, every manipulation. She was always on defense, always arguing for her rightness, and always feeling depleted. The breakthrough came not in a grand confrontation, but in a small moment of silence. One evening, after a particularly cruel remark, she paused. Instead of launching into her habitual defense, she simply stared at the floor and thought, "This event is outside my control. My judgment is not." She let the silence hold the weight of the moment. Her partner, expecting the usual escalation, became confused, then irritated, then finally quiet. In that pause, Sarah saw the system clearly. Her partner didn't care about the substance of the argument. They only cared about controlling the emotional flow. By withholding her predictable reaction, Sarah didn't win the argument, but she won her agency. This was her proheresis, her power of choice in action. It's an ancient concept that distinguishes between what we have no control over, the external event, and our attitude toward it, our volition, our choice. Sarah had finally grasped that true freedom lay in the unimpeachable sanctuary of her own mind. The event was the remark. The choice was to refuse to consent to the judgment that the remark had the power to harm her true self, her character. This realization was the hard lesson she needed. Only you can grant power to an external event. How do we build this capacity? Through training. The Stoic understood that you can only fight the way you train. You cannot expect to rise to a financial collapse if you panic over a dropped phone. You cannot remain calm in a high-stakes negotiation if you lose your temper over a trivial disagreement with a family member. Every small confrontation in your daily life is a forge where your psychological steel is tested. This is the principle of voluntary discomfort, sometimes called negative visualization. You train by deliberately exposing yourself to discomfort, not avoiding it. You don't wait for crisis. You seek out small, manageable battles. Practice this. When someone insults you, keep your face unreadable. Let their words hang in the air for 5 full seconds before offering a neutral, non-committal response. When money is tight, see it not as a disaster, but as a challenge to your resourcefulness and your gratitude for what you still have. This deliberate practice builds a habit, a mental scaffolding that won't collapse when the real pressure comes. The training is the confidence. The greatest strategists, whether in the Roman Forum or on the battlefields of feudal Japan, operate on the principle: from one thing, know 10,000 things. They weren't just skilled in their narrow field, they were masters of pattern recognition. They understood human nature, psychology, and the universal dynamics of power. Every conflict, from a playground tussle to a geopolitical standoff, follows a predictable script. The aggressor seeks weakness. The victim responds from emotion. The victor responds from strategy. This means your preparation isn't just about practicing self-control, it's about studying the game itself. Understand the telltale signs of manipulation, the sudden pressure to decide, the flattery designed to lower your guard, the subtle threat intended to trigger fear. A twitch of the mouth, a glance to the side, a change in breathing. These external clues, when observed without judgment, reveal more than any spoken word. The person who sees the pattern can predict the move before it is made, and the person who anticipates the move is inherently calm because they are no longer surprised. They are not reacting. They are executing a premeditated counter-strategy. The most powerful people are simply those who have done their homework, or has the practical transformation. Of this philosophy can be seen in the story of Helen, a young executive who had struggled with severe public speaking anxiety. Her credible transformation began when she stopped trying to cure the anxiety and started trying to use the Stoic framework. She reframed her anxiety not as a personal defect, but as a judgment. My rapid heartbeat means I am going to fail and look foolish. Applying the dichotomy of control, she separated the physical event, the rapid heartbeat, from the judgment, the fear of looking foolish. Her strategy was simple, but profoundly effective. She volunteered for small, low-stakes presentations daily. She did not try to stop her hands from trembling or her voice from shaking. She treated those things as external events outside her control, much like the weather. Instead, she focused her full SAS pro-heresis chaos on what she could control: the preparation of her content, the clear structure of her argument, and her willingness to show up despite the discomfort. She made a pact with herself. I will deliver the material with integrity, regardless of how my body feels. This shift from fighting a feeling to executing a duty was seismic. Her trembling hands remained, but her mind was calm. She stopped taking the fear personally and started viewing the audience's attention as an impersonal force to be managed, like the sails of a ship in a storm. By giving up the illusory control over her feelings and embracing the real control over her actions, she became an excellent speaker whose power was defined not by her lack of nerves, but by her disciplined delivery through them. The ship in the storm doesn't avoid the waves. It sails through them, knowing its rudder and its purpose are the only things that truly matter. So, where does this leave the open question we started with? Why do we spend so little time fortifying the mind? We do it because we mistake feeling calm for being calm. We pursue comfort, which is the softest armor in a hard world. True calm is a manufactured state. It is a fortress that's built through continuous conscious effort. It is the deep understanding that you do not have to give your consent to the chaotic emotional demands of the world. The core lessons are highly portable. 1. Never take an attack personally. Depersonalize the conflict. Turn it from an emotional duel into a strategic puzzle. 2. Stay fluid. Never allow yourself to be predictable. Your silence is often more powerful than their noise. 3. Focus entirely on your choice, your proheresis, and accept with humility the vast realm of things outside your control. And finally, 4. Train constantly, treating every minor moment of friction as a chance to forge a stronger inner response. You are the space that your emotions pass through. The confrontation ceases to be about winning or losing when it becomes only about maintaining the integrity of your own disciplined character. That paradox we opened with, spending little time fortifying the mind, is now resolved. The external emergencies matter because they are the inescapable tests of our internal architecture. You must practice stillness now in the quiet moments so that when the world screams, you will be the only person left listening. The next logical chapter in this pursuit of mastery is to explore the subtle, powerful discipline of negative visualization. How to mentally prepare for the worst, not to become anxious, but to achieve a profound, preemptive gratitude for the present moment.